Every 10 years, Arizona cities are required by law to craft a new general plan. But Scottsdale voters rejected the city's last plan back in 2012. A task force was formed to address the problem, but the task force became a problem when disagreements led to 4 panel members quitting in protest earlier this year. Here now to discuss the complicated effort to create a plan for Scottsdale's future is Lorraine Rogers, a current member of the task force, and Jim Hytel, the former co-chair of the group. It's good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get too far now, what is a general plan?
Okay. Well, a general plan is a collective vision of how we want Scottsdale to evolve over the next 10 to 20 years. It's important for all of us, and in terms of future decisions, it's going to be based on that, but it's a legal mandate too. It's required by state statute and also by our city charter.
So what happens if you can't get a general plan? Is there a deadline, and what happens if you miss the deadline?
Right. The state has mandated that by 2015 there was an extension granted that the cities needed to redo their general plan or readopt their current one. And so the conversation going on now is just how to put that plan together so it works for the community.
And we mentioned that a general plan was voted down in March of 2012. Why did that happen?
Well, I think there were several reasons why it was voted down. One, I think the public had a lot of information that didn't seem well put together. They had, in some cases, probably misinformation, but in other cases, what they had was only a piece of it. And part of that was due to the format of the plan, the way the task force was selected. They were just individuals from each of the different boards and commissions. And those individuals worked on their piece, if you will. They didn't have continuous responsibility throughout the whole entire plan from beginning to end. Not so today. Also, I think from a communication standpoint, I don't think the word really went out to everybody at the right time. A lot of people didn't know. They would say, what's a general plan? Why are we voting on a general plan? And it was a special election as well.
Yeah, well, why do you think that plan was voted down?
You know, I think there are a lot more issues that were involved in that. The citizens of Scottsdale tend to be very involved in their communities, and leadership sort of requires a clarity of vision, and that general plan, in a way, is supposed to provide that clarity of the vision of the citizens to the leaders of the community. And clearly it failed because the community did not feel it provided that vision.
So we now have a new task force with the idea of a new vote and a new general plan. 4 members, yourself included, decide that you don't want to be involved anymore. What's going on here?
Well, very interesting, you know, and when I talk about, just wanted to say, great seeing Lorraine again. We enjoyed being on the task force for many, many months. So when I talk about maybe a lot of the reasons that the 4 of us left, I don't mean to infer the Lorraines of the task force I'm directing my comments toward them. 4 of us left probably have a collective 50 years of community service. Council members, Planning Commission, I'm currently Preserve Commission Chairman, and so forth and so on. And I think we, in a way, made a mistake when we joined this task force. We thought there was actually a desire by the community and by the task force to investigate and talk through the big issues, the big elephants in the room, effectively, as to why the 2011 plan did fail.
And you don't think that happened?
No, you know, I think we were effective in bringing those issues to the table, but when we started trying to press those issues for resolution, some of the members of the task force got quite defensive, quite arbitrary, quite abusive, and we didn't want to lend our good names to that kind of process.
I believe the description was an unhealthy vilification of concerns. There was bullying involved, there was intimidation, they were ignored. Valid?
Well, let me say that there was great passion on our task force. We all went on. I really think Jim and I share a desire to help our city grow and have a good general plan into the future. There was a lot of passion, for sure. However, I think there's 3 important things to remember. One, the general plan is still in draft. It is absolutely still in draft. We are still actively seeking please give us input. And in fact, I'll give you a key day to remember is April 15th. It's not just tax day. It's the last day to get some of your thoughts in because, to Jim's point, we want to make sure we understand. We want to entertain all the input and perspective. Second, the GP is certain things and it is not other things. And it's important that we focus on that too as we go through our work. And third and finally, the process, the format, and the content. I think we did learn a lot, and I probably just hit the surface before of some of the key, top things. Jim brings up some other points. There are many points. We've addressed, I'd say, a good number, if not close to 90% of some of the concerns from before. We want more. We absolutely want more. Come Monday night to the task force meeting, go online, come to our open houses. But please do that. We did entertain many, we did talk at length. In fact, we added 4 meetings, 4 special sessions, because, as Jim said, there were a lot of things that really required more dialogue.
And real quickly, though, because I don't want to get too lost in the weeds here, but as far as the overview, it sounds to me in researching this, you got growth, and you've got either smart growth or knock it off with the growth. Is that the line of demarcation? Is that the big problem here?
No, not at all. I think, first of all, I think the city has not done a very good job in defining to the public in what the general plan is in a way. One of their recent publications said the general plan's a desired vision for a general desired vision for the city. Goals without guidelines, that infers, and that was one of the challenges with the 2011 plan, and we fear this could be the challenge for this plan. The Arizona State statute, it has a different definition of that. It says it's a municipal statement of land development policies that set forth objectives, principles, and standards. So our challenge to this task force is to now take your goals, these lofty ideals you have, and put them into defined guidelines, specific guidelines that appointed officials can look at projects and evaluate whether that project is beneficial to the city or is not beneficial.
So specificity is the problem on your end?
Guidelines.
Guidelines, specificity, you
Very,
name it.
very important. I agree. My background is information systems, and I trust, but I verify, and I need to see it. I struggled in the beginning with trying to tie together the vision and the values and all the elements which talk about the key things, and then how are we going to know that this is done? We need an implementation plan. We need metrics. All of this is absolutely key. We now have a draft implementation plan that talks about short, medium, and longer term, and it links everything. It shows which of the vision and value statements that were created by the public actually tie to each of the specific areas. And that is important. I think we've done our best to address specificity, and again, please, if there is more input, we'd love it.
I mentioned growth, smart growth or no growth, as maybe from a distance it seemed like that was a bit of a line of demarcation. What about the idea of the nature of Scottsdale, the changing nature? Those who see Scottsdale more as what it was, those who maybe think that that's in the past, it's time to move on to the future and compete with the Phoenixes and Tempes and Mesas of the world.
I don't see things as ors. It doesn't have to be this or that. I see we live in a world of ands. We're not going to build, a skyscraper, if you will, up in the McDowell Mountain Sonoran Preserve. We're just not going to. So I think it's appropriate to look in context at what we're actually going to do and where the changes are actually going to take place.
So again, I'm just trying to get a handle on this because you sound awfully agreeable for a debate here, and I'm not seeing what the problem. You quit this panel, and 3 other folks with you quit this panel.
Right.
Something wasn't going very well, and it can't be. It's got to be more than just specificity. What's going on here?
It was not. It was not a proper context to have a discussion about the important issues. What really needs to happen moving forward. Lorraine says we're not going to build a high-rise here or there. There are no guidelines for the city to evaluate anything right now. There are just a lot of lofty goals. Yes, we want open space. Yes, we want good neighborhoods. Yes, we want high-rises. Yes, we want high density. All of these things. So any development project it's almost as if the development projects are doing the planning for the city right now. And in our opinion, one of the challenges is to have this guide to a public-private sort of decision-making process that specifically evaluates the effects of projects of height, density, population growth, those sorts of things, because there is an element that is very much attracted to a very high density, high-rise sort of mentality for Scottsdale, with its attendant traffic problems and with no discussion about the economic problems that it could create.
Which is the nature of Scottsdale, the future nature. So
Yes,
is there,
but I'm
please,
sorry.
no,
excuse
please
me,
go
Ted.
ahead. No.
The nature of our general plan is not. It's not a master plan. It's not a development plan. It's not a detailed plan. It is a guideline. And with the implementation plan coming together, then the planning department has to coordinate among all the different groups to make that happen. We've added a lot of what some may call protections, if you will, into the general plan, where, you know, areas like in order to make a change, and by the way, by law, the general plan has to be amendable. So in order to make a change, and if you wanted to introduce something and say this is a major change, it used to be easier. We've added protections to make that harder. We've added things. You've got to go through 16 hoops. Well, actually, I think the actual numbers are maybe 8 hoops, and there used to be 3 or 4. We've added those, and so far we've gotten some pretty good feedback for it.
So the idea of a soft green light for development without any real guidelines or strong, you don't see that?
Absolutely
you still
not.
see a little bit of that?
I still see that the plan that we've seen so far has not addressed those specific guidelines.
Okay, and you know, we have to stop it right there. We could go on for hours on this one. You guys really got something going there. It's good to have you both here. Thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
It was very nice having